isn't free, but hitting that subscribe button is.
Polar bear. But yeah, take that too.
Bring you back. This is okay. It's
whatever
It
you
is.
want.
You think it's fair?
yes.
And you think it's fair?
Yeah, she can have whatever.
Hold on. Before we get into it, do you think it's fair?
I agree.
Welcome back to TDG. I'm your host, Sean, sitting in the captain's chair, I guess. Captain's part of the chair. We were off last week for Memorial Day, but we're back. Hopefully we can keep this going every Saturday. We're starting at, is it 8:15? Oh, we're a little early today. So about 8:12. So we're getting better. We got some new people on the panel for tonight, and we're gonna have some fun answering some questions and just kind of, doing what we do as we do. So glad you guys joined. If you guys haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out, along with the like button and the bell to make sure you know when we go live. Every time we go live, Saturdays at 8:15 ish, CPT time. So we're working on that. One day we'll get to 8 o'clock. All right. So before I do any further, we're gonna just get into our introductions. Once again, I'm Sean. I'm 41, work IT, and this is my little side gig. And that's basically it. My little self-promotion is actually from my dad. He started a YouTube channel himself. Help him out with that. It's called Finances with Uncle Nev. If you guys want to get your finances right, make sure you go to his page after the show and subscribe as well. Once again, it's Finances with Uncle Nev. We got 3 episodes in. Just stay tuned. We'll be helping you guys out pretty shortly. To my left, we have
Kendra, I am 37. I'm in financial management, and you can catch me on Wilding Living on YouTube.
Hey guys, I'm Candace. I'm 37. I'm a dental hygienist, and I'm just out here trying to survive.
My name is Brene. I do marketing and public relations for Social Impact. I'm 35 years old, and if I'm on a platform, then my name is Brene Ashley.
My name is Brittany Renee. I am 37 years old. I am a loctician and artist on Instagram. You can find me at CurlyLocks LLC. And I'm single. Did I say that? I'm single.
My name is Ashley. I'm 34, and I'm married, and I work.
all right. Not promoting anything tonight.
And I don't have anything.
The OnlyFans. I'm joking.
Fine.
All right. So, in case you guys didn't know, I want to cue you guys in on something that you guys are on the #1 show with dating and relationship show within a mile radius of where you're sitting right now. So,
Wow.
#1.
Nice.
You know, right?
Congrats.
And also, I'm going to be coming a little bit hard for you guys tonight. So, this is definitely going to be a show that's going to, get you guys a bit triggered. So, hope you guys don't walk out. But we already have people that are going to walk out. But that's because they got it somewhere else to be. So I'm gonna get into the first question. Touch a little bit of a scenario. I asked this woman I've been talking to for a minute for $100. I get a what do you need it for? When do I get it back? A whole bunch of questions. LOL. I planned a trip for us in the mountains in Colorado for 4 days. Hotel costs per night $200. Whitewater rafting $150 per person. Zip lining $125 per person. Hot air balloon $250 per person. SUV rental, $80 per day, not to mention food cost. I had all this covered, just canceled everything and got my deposits back. I didn't need the $100. I was just seeing what type of response I'd get if I asked for it. I didn't ask, when do I get my money back when I was planning the vacation? I was just handling business. People don't think long term. Tests failed. How do you guys feel about tests in relationships, and do you do them?
I feel like she could see that it was a test, and I would have been like, why didn't
How do you get that?
because it just felt very manipulative. Why not just ask me if I would be willing to help you financially with this trip instead of trying to play games with me?
I still think how he deduced that though. If he just asked someone for $100, not saying what it's for.
Like I know he doesn't need it, so it's like, why is he asking me this question?
There's a lot of context missing. How long have they been together? If you just met somebody,
We ain't got no context. We got what I just
okay,
said.
well, I'm
okay?
saying you
that
asked
back
the
in
question
Yeah.
because as far as tests in relationship, boo, that one
So no
was
test at all. Then.
well, I
don't
mean, a
wanna
couple,
play no
but that one was one that
games.
wasn't really realistic because a lot of times maybe she doesn't have it and she's like, oh, I don't know. Maybe one day if she did have it, she'd be open to, be like, hey, sure, I can help you out. But maybe in that moment she's like, no, I don't have it. We don't know how long they've known each other. we don't know what that dynamic is. Did he present himself as someone who's like, I'll take care of you, and now he's asking for her to kind of start paying for things?
Y'all love not answering questions.
That is the
I
answer,
answered
though.
How do y'all feel about tests?
I said
And
no. I said boo.
Yeah.
I don't like tests. I don't think when you test somebody, you think you're trying to figure something out, but you haven't factored in all the factors that have come up. So when you're testing somebody, but it really, to me, tests come out of another place.
It
It's not.
feels like
It
I
could
think
be
I'm smarter
fear,
than you,
yeah,
or
manipulation, fear, control. Like who knows? But just let things arise and bubble up, whether it be is he trying to find a red flag, let it come out.
if you're looking for it, you're gonna
Um,
find it.
and even to that, like if I ever ask somebody for some money or vice versa, they ask me, I'm gonna tell them why. And then if somebody asks me, I'm gonna say, oh, why you need it? And it's not like control anything, it's just like that's a courtesy.
Right.
okay, Kendra, you've been awfully quiet.
I'm just taking it all in. I don't, So one, I don't like tests. I don't do it. And if someone asks for money, I don't ask why. They typically say why, but I'm like, okay, whatever, here.
Mhm.
And when I get it back, I'll get it. If not, it's just a seed zone. So
So none of y'all have never checked someone's phone before?
I mean, yeah, but that's not what this is about.
It's kind of, I'm not curious. It's about trust.
I
We're
think
talking about
that's
trust here, right? Just kind of
How do you
blind
know
trust.
no,
trust?
that's not first. No, that's not trust. That's two different things. One is monetary and like again, asking for $100 doesn't mean I trust you or not. But going through someone's phone, that's a problem. If you have to do that, sis, bro, they're already out there. You just need to let that dog lie. I don't I don't touch people's phone. Don't touch my phone. Nothing's there. But if you need it here, you can have it. Go through it, all the apps, whatever. But I will not be waiting for somebody to go to sleep. Like, oh my God, what's the passcode? Is it my birthday? There.
Yeah, that's something we used to do when we were young and not emotionally intelligent. And
I'm glad you brought that up. Remember about emotional intelligence. We're gonna get into that a little bit later today, tonight rather. Um, but yeah, what I was kind of getting at with the trust thing and someone asking you for $100. I mean, to me, it's kind of the same thing. And to kind of say you don't test people, I think inherently we do, because a lot of people would be staying with each other if there weren't certain tests that happen. Because if you think about it, there's certain criteria that everyone has to be with somebody, right? And if they don't meet that criteria, and you're saying, yeah, sure, if it pops up, then you might want to get rid of them. You might want to talk to them about it and see if you can work it out. But it still kind of boils back down to a test.
I feel like it's not a test. It's just if you have open communication and like I don't know. I'm just not understanding the whole test thing.
Yeah, that was like a flawed experiment. There was no correlation between asking her for $100 and her actually trusting him. And he went as far as to just cancel everything. Like, okay, drama queen, calm down. Maybe she didn't have it. Or sometimes for me, I know personally, I like to know a little bit more. So maybe if you're asking for 100, but maybe I've got 300 that I could lend, and whatever your cause is, if I could give it to you, then I'd be like, let me just cover the whole thing. It doesn't necessarily mean I don't trust you because I'm like, hey, well, what's going on? Why do you need this money? And it's that, I love the word that you use, manipulation. It is manipulation. It's trying to be like, would you do what I want you to do when I want you to do it? How obedient are you?
Good.
So
I don't think it's always obedience. I think it's just to see what someone's mindset is. Because especially nowadays, it's difficult dating, especially being a man, because you're expected to provide, protect, all those other things. And if you're going out with someone and you find yourself always paying, you want to know where you really stand with that person and know if they're just in it for the experiences and what you can provide, or they're actually in it for you and get to know who you are and who you are as a person. So you're right. We don't have a lot of context with this scenario, but I think what he was trying to do was figure out, is this girl really for me, or is she really for the experiences? Is she willing to help me out in a pinch, or is she just going to say that's for you to figure out? So really,
I think you just asked.
yeah.
he wasn't in a bind. He's doing this to say, hey, let me just see. Now, if he could not afford to do all these things, don't do it.
but he said he
Right.
could. He said
But he had an issue with $100.
She doesn't know that. She doesn't know
He's
that.
like,
And
let
like
me make this
in
extra
his
penny by
test,
making
like
it
I said,
100.
it's flawed because if you pay for all those things and you asking for $100 for a trip, in your brain, you know that, but we don't know what you told her or whatever. And if somebody told me that, I'm like, well, maybe we don't need to go on this trip because you need $100. I want to be there, and you shoot.
It seemed to me, like the way I read it, at least, it seemed that she didn't know about the vacation yet or the getaway. It seemed like he booked it as a as a surprise getaway. That's how I read it, and he just wanted to see, does she have $100, just for whatever reason.
But what if she actually just didn't have it?
Right.
I think then that's when it comes down to your answer, not like, why do you need it? Like, oh, I don't have it right now, or can I give you 50 or
So
something
you
like
expect
that.
an explanation and you didn't give one?
But the only reason you're not telling me what
Right.
the $100 is for is because it's to manipulate you.
Right.
Hey, like I said, sometimes it comes down to what your answer is. I mean,
Well,
like,
then you just revealed yourself, because if you're going to manipulate a situation, and thank you for bringing this
Right.
forth,
As
because
soon
I
as
don't
I
want
begin
that's a
this.
test.
Right.
Because what else
Right.
are you going to try to manipulate?
And even to what I was saying earlier about it can come out of different things, and one of them being fear. It actually goes to what you said, that sometimes men might feel like, okay, I'm spending all this money. I don't know why maybe she's trying to use me. Maybe she just wants
I feel like a
to
test
eat.
is not
Maybe
needed. You
so
already know
that's
what
a
you need to know.
fear inside
you
of
don't
that should
always
be
know that, right?
expressed and expressed and explore in a healthy way,
Yeah.
not a test.
Okay, fair enough. Didn't get you guys on that one.
Next. No. Are we being manipulated?
We're looking for our video examples tonight. I pulled a few clips from the interwebs, and we're just gonna kind of talk about them and see what how you guys feel about it. So, the first one, it seems like a lot of people, but at least in these examples I'm gonna be showing you guys, it's women. So sorry. Like I said, I'm trying to trigger you guys tonight. That you guys have a tough time admitting when you're wrong, even when you're 100% wrong. Is there, before you get into the example, is there a reason, or do you guys know that you guys do that?
I don't do
think
that.
it's
I
just
can't really.
women.
I'm
And
saying-
right, I
I'm
don't.
saying not just women, but I'm saying with our example tonight.
No, I think it comes with a level of maturity,
Yes.
right?
Has
And then
nothing to do.
also, you can't just say 1/6 leans heavily on not recognizing and holding themselves accountable, because that's what it's about, accountability.
Mhm.
And I'm interested to see the clips. I'm quite sure you pulled the most egregious, so just interested to see, but
Okay. We'll jump into the first one. I think you guys know this lady. I just know the name.
I didn't know that about you,
What do you know?
that you're a musician. But that's why I'm interviewing you today, so I can get to know you.
So I'm a musician. What the fuck that mean? Make magic or something? What is musician?
I think you're confusing that.
Yeah, I'm not no musician.
I-
I make music. I make
I-
music. And that's not all I do. I make music, I act. I'm a TV star too, a young mogul.
Just really quick, I think you're confusing.
I'm not confusing nothing because you don't know. You thought that all I was a magician or whatever the fuck you said.
See, that's what I think you think I said. I said
No,
musician,
think
not
what-
magician.
I don't think, baby, I don't think. What is that? That's ghetto. I don't think. I know.
So you
Think.
I didn't say magician, Suki. I said musician. And I think you are a musician.
No, baby, I do music.
So you just really quick, for the record, could you say you don't think you're a musician?
I'm not none of that.
But then after that, you just said I do music.
Yeah, I do music.
So in other words,
Yeah.
you're a musician.
No, I'm not.
All right, so that was our first clip of the night.
I was just
question?
generally confused.
Yeah. So I've seen that clip before. And that is Suki. She is a rapper. And the white lady that was interviewing her, that's sort of her style
Yes.
of like
I heard it was a skit.
yeah, like a
Yes.
dry
Yes.
sort of
Yeah.
thing. Right.
Yeah. If you look at more of
Okay.
their stuff, she acts like a dum dum. Do I think it's
Yeah.
good she does that? No, but
Like I think she did one with Offset or something. She did like an
She
interview
does
with
that to
him. Yeah. So
everybody.
that's sort of her style.
Learned me something tonight.
I don't.
Oh.
I didn't know that about you.
What do you know?
That you.
Got it.
Both of them are jokes. Yeah.
Did you want to ask us something about that or
I mean, even though you're saying it was a skit, I mean, I have come. Matter of fact, last night I was talking to someone and we were talking about. I'm not gonna get into the exact topic, but I was like, there's data or statistics about what we're more or less debating, and she didn't want to get into the statistics. And then later she was like, "You didn't pull up on your phone, did you?" And I said, "No, I didn't." She's like, "Okay, good, because I mean, even if I knew that you were right, or I know that you are right, but I didn't want to see the statistics because I don't want to get into it. It's not for me and stuff like that." And she said she feels better not doing that, even if she knows that I'm right. So it just seems like there's a lot of times there's accountability problems or issues that.
Men do it too.
Thanks, Brittany.
You're welcome.
But an accountability issue, or she's just very anti-intellectualism. She doesn't care about the facts. She just wants to go based off of what she's feeling. Is that a whole woman problem, or is that just a her problem?
In my experience, it tends to be, like I said, I mostly deal with women. I'm not gonna use the F word because y'all don't like that.
Because it doesn't make sense.
Females?
Yeah.
Doesn't?
It doesn't. You
Why
could
not?
have a female dog, a female human.
Yeah.
You would say women when addressing women, just like you would say men when addressing men. You wouldn't say a male human.
So if you have
That's
a
too
baby,
scientific.
if you have a baby, oh, it's a female. Oh, it's a male.
If you're
It's a
running from
baby
the
boy.
cops, it's a male or female.
I think
There
you're
are
getting caught up on
times.
terms, and even so, it's a biological and scientific term. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's just something I think.
Do you know what?
What's that?
You said that you told this girl that there was data to support some of the topics that we're talking about tonight. And some of the topics that we've talked about tonight are very put women in the box type of stuff. So like I might have the same reaction she did because we kind of disagree with some of the things that are being said, and you've designed it to be that way to trigger us, but it's like I don't actually care to see the number because I know for a fact I'm not like that. I know for a fact a lot of my friends are not like that. We've sat around the table, around the food sign, around the podcast or whatever, and pretty much objected to everything. You know what I'm saying? So like there's enough of us where it's like it feels like I don't care about the numbers. I know real people that aren't like that. So it doesn't mean I'm not taking accountability. It's just you can't push these numbers in my face and tell me that's how women are.
But don't you want to know like what the truth is, or what
Because
they?
I am the truth. She is the truth.
But
She
one
is the
so
person
real.
doesn't make up for the
one,
whole
two,
group,
three,
though.
4, 5.
One person doesn't make for the whole group, though. We're
And
talking majorities.
and well, I don't agree with the majority, but from your own personal experience, as you said, in your experience, but are you talking to the same type of people?
I talk to a whole different types of people, all of them. Lots, not all of them.
It
lots
seems
of
like your experiences end up being the same, though.
So why should we care? Like what is us knowing the statistics? How does that help?
It broadens your mind, and you're able to.
But we already know that people, and I mean, okay, I'll say
what she's
maybe
just
a
saying,
majority.
she'd rather know that it's herself and people that she knows. But if I'm saying there's a whole group of people, the majority of people, even if it's the majority of people in America, why wouldn't she want to know about that majority?
Because what am I supposed to do with that? That's not going to change me at all.
Am I
I'm
supposed to
right.
apply this
That
to
helps
my
You
life?
to do what?
your personal knowledge and even communicating with people and communicating effectively.
I think it
No,
But
depends
that's
on the
still not
purpose.
a
I
woman
think
or
what
man
we're
thing.
hearing is that, like what she's saying, it might not matter to a lot of people because they don't intend to change the shift, the whole a whole culture of it or whatever. That might be your intent or somebody or even mine. I'm in marketing PR. That might be somebody's intention, but it's not everybody's intention. So if they don't fit into that majority, then they might not care to know that if they know that it doesn't apply to them, that okay, well, most of the people I interact with actually are objective or actually do take accountability. So
Some
the rest of it, maybe I don't care about.
I'm a little curious. So you say you're in marketing and PR. Can you go a little bit deeper into what it is you do as far as marketing and PR? Because I'm assuming that it's a broad,
It's broad. It's social impact. It's spanned from homelessness,
Mhm.
um, low income, mental health, mental illness, um, very culture equity.
Okay.
So yeah,
So you want to reach the greatest number of people, correct?
it depends what the project is.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But
that fit
typically,
into the target audience. Yeah.
okay. So typically, like I said, in marketing, you want to reach the greatest number of people, depending on what your target is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then you want to be able to study and know what your target market is and what they're looking for, or what you're trying to provide or sell to them. So you need evidence and factual information to reach those people, right? So you're not going to target just one or two people or people that you know. You want the largest swath of people.
You mean when defining a market,
Yeah.
or what your it depends. But I mean, even to your like, if that does apply to the statement I just made, yeah. If that was my intent to reach people, then yeah, defining the market, knowing more about them, what their thought process are, their preferences and everything, then for sure.
Mhm.
Everything doesn't happen that way, because sometimes even some things are not based on facts. A lot of things are based on people's perception. So, and that's just in my opinion, unfortunate thing a lot of times, but that's what it is.
Right. I got you, and I agree. Like I said, it comes down to, like, we've agreed, majorities in specific things, specific terms like this. So yes, you can take your own experiences and people that you know, but depending on what you're talking about, we typically talk about majorities and how we can effectively communicate to everyone,
But
or the most people.
a study isn't going to change that. A study,
One study.
one study to be like, I don't even know what the study is. So just say accountability. Who sucks more at it, right? That's what I'm again, it's like what that's not how you're not going to use a study to then navigate someone who doesn't take accountability. And
Mm.
a person looking at a study and they're the ones that can't take accountability, that fact is not going to cause them to take accountability, because that's what not taking accountability
Yeah, they're the people who
is.
need to see it, but we
True.
can't
So,
change their
how would
minds.
we correct that then?
We
How would we work?
can't.
There's no way to work
The
towards.
people who don't take accountability for stuff,
Mhm.
you can't change. Trust me. I know. All right. You can't make them do anything. You can't make them take accountability. They will duck and dodge it as much as you can't make them do anything. And if a study was going to change that, oh wow. After everything else, like that's not how that works. And so I say that firmly, that too, I don't care about the study, because like to have to live through dealing with somebody who takes zero accountability, I don't care about them numbers. Because
Why aren't you showing the study?
I got don't even get me started. Don't even get me started.
Well, once again, I mean, I know what you're talking about, and that's just one person. But do you think it would help for anybody else, though?
No,
You don't think?
because that is not the light bulb that goes off, and where they're looking at it like, oh, am I in that number? Oh, maybe now I should do something about it.
So then,
No,
why should people go to therapy then?
you said why do?
No, why should people go to therapy?
To work
For
those issues
that.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's just
But isn't that kind of the same thing?
no, that is just a piece sometimes of a bigger picture. And the bigger picture can be so complex that I mean, you could tell somebody you need to go to therapy because you don't take accountability. It takes accountability for them to be like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
and
then
then
go.
go,
Yeah.
and then
go to
find out the
therapy,
Yeah.
and then still not.
and then sit in there
Yeah.
and still not take accountability,
Yep.
and then spin wheels. So you, as an outsider, right, you can't do anything about it. So a study is not going to do anything about it. Knowledge about a study is not going to do anything about it. You can't change somebody like that unless they want to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do agree. People have to want to change in order to change. But how do you get them to that point, though, to help
It's
them?
not your job.
Mhm.
Right.
I'm saying as a therapist, because
No, that's their job. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I wish I knew. Where is Dante Brown?
that's Dante. Where you at? All right, we're gonna move along from that question. We've kind of beat it dead. Um, it seems that, like, when people, oh sorry, it seems like when people do break up, or the relationships end, that we tend to, I guess, get our sexy back is the best way to put it. Um, but it takes time. I've noticed some people go through different ways of doing it. Some people it's immediate. Some people it takes months. Do you guys kind of know, like, or why we do that? Any
I don't
thoughts?
think it probably might, it could be intentional for some people. Um, for me, I didn't have anything else to do.
Mhm.
I just started working out because I don't have a lot of time. And my workout thing is right there in my house. So Like, I got 30 minutes, I got 40 minutes. I did a workout. And so, you start to see the result, and it might not be, oh, I'm getting my sexy back. For me, I'd be like, damn, look at my arms. And then it's motivating, and then it takes you somewhere. And then it goes from a physical thing. And I'm speaking for my own self. It goes from a physical thing to like, wow, okay, I'm putting in the work physically. How else can I match my efforts? Well, let me prioritize protein. Let me start cooking with more vegetables. You building upon different principles, and it's not for the sake of I'm getting my sexy back. I love that though as a byproduct. And I think going into it without that being your intention makes it that much more worth it, because it's a product of taking care of yourself.
Mhm. But another question: why did that happen before the split? Like, were you doing it before?
What do you mean?
As far as your intensity, were you doing that before?
Like working out?
Yeah. Hmm.
I was working out at home, yeah. I mean, when we still lived together, I worked out at home, but like I'm cooking, like my meals and stuff are for two people, right? And so like one of my favorite swaps to get protein, right, is to blend cottage cheese, non-fat cottage cheese. It's an You got to adjust a little bit, but then you play with it. It's like, oh, shoot, I can make this, I can make that. Now, that works for me. But when I was cooking for two people and you'd be like, yeah, I made it with cottage cheese. Well, it's harder because it's two people. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't doing the diet stuff back then, but now that I'm only cooking for myself, I cook whatever the hell I want, you
So you're
know?
saying that by losing one person, you have more time, and with more time.
Freedom and flexibility.
Okay.
No, I mean like freedom to make choices based off of what I want
Mhm.
and how I want to do it. Because I don't have to consider anybody else except for my child.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, you definitely get to like reset after a breakup, almost as if you're relisting a house on the market. You're gonna put a nice painted coat of paint on it. You're gonna fix some things up, and then you're gonna put it back out there because you get comfortable in a relationship. You start to let things slide because you're like, well, this person likes it. I don't care if anyone else does. So maybe at the end you feel like, okay, I need to tighten back up. I want to reintroduce myself to the world in a certain way. You can do that for yourself. You can do that despite your ex, but whatever, people want to just reset and get back to themselves because when you are in a relationship, you do a lot of things with the other person in mind, and sometimes you can lose yourself in that.
Okay.
I'll let that slide.
What?
Do not let that slide.
What do you mean? Come on in, King. King's got words.
Oh, the tech man wants to come from behind the scenes.
Miss Ashley,
How about your elbow?
I saw it. But why not keep that same level of upkeep while you're with the person? What was it about the time thing that made it slide to where you or that person, right, can't keep that upkeep together while y'all are together?
Well, it really depends on what you wanted personally before. Like, for example, I'm married and I always wear all of this makeup and I do my hair and I focus on things. My wife would love me if I ran around barefaced. She wouldn't care if I didn't have my hair done. She just loves me. Now, I'm going to continue to do this for me because it's something that I personally enjoy. But a lot of times, often people are doing things to attract someone else. It's not something we want to necessarily have to do for the long term, but they pull you in, they get you in, and then you're like, yeah, I love you natural. I love you the way you are. I don't really need all these extra things. And you get comfortable, as you should. I mean, it would be nice if people could authentically present themselves, in a way that they would feel they would be accepted. But we don't live in a society like that.
Likewise, like with the physical like activity and exercise, like it's different now, you know? Before it's like I gotta do this, I gotta get back in shape. But like now, it's part of my life. Like it's a hobby for me. It's part of me. So like as I move into this next phase, whatever it looks like, that's not changing because my goal isn't like I'm doing this for somebody else. My goal is I'm doing this so my knees work in 25 years. I'm doing this so now I know how to pick stuff up properly.
Mhm.
So that's not changing because I'm just getting older and I'm gonna need that stuff right now. But like, you know, to your point, why was that not part of the upkeep? Things change. Things change. Dynamics change. Like, you know, you go from your life is your own and you have free time. So now you're trying to figure out what is this new situation because we got kids and now we're okay, you got to go and do this or you got to go and do that. Sometimes it means you want me to up or keep something up. Well, you need to help me prioritize doing that. Or else, how am I supposed to? And I feel like you let that slide.
Now, I mean, I see both sides of it, and I've actually been on both sides of it. Personally, now at this age, I feel like you should be doing your best to always present your best self to your partner. 'Cause I hear a lot of times that, like, things fell off. So and so wasn't doing what they used to do. So I think you should always kind of be, putting your best foot forward. Because let's think about it this way: when you're with your wife, do dates stop? You
No.
guys still go out and have,
Yeah.
other time?
But also to respond to what you just said about, trying to keep putting your best foot forward, it ebbs and flows. So you're going to have times where you're like, I'm going through it. I can't think about anybody else, and especially think about making myself look like some sort of doll version of myself that doesn't exist authentically. And then maybe you pick it back up later on and you're like, you know what? Ooh, I had a little slump. Okay, I'm back. You're doing these things for yourself sometimes, but you're also doing them for your partner sometimes. And it's going to ebb and flow. And that's the importance of having someone who genuinely loves you. Because if they're only there for you when you look fabulous, they don't really want you. So that's why it's important to pick somebody that, yeah, even when they look horrible, you still love it.
That's a fair answer. Kendra? It's like school. I'm gonna call on you. You're not gonna want to call on you.
So I'm just thinking about my most recent breakup and like that process. I don't think I go think oh wow. Okay, so I don't I don't think I go through the process of I'm going to the gym, I'm going to work out. Um I kind of do this mental like assessment like hey, I'm going to take 4 hard months to see how was I like how was I the issue in this relationship? Just making sure again holding myself accountable and I mean, that's work. So I just take like long periods of time where I'm not going anywhere, I'm not dating, I'm not entertaining anything because one, I don't think it's beneficial for anyone to leave a relationship and jump back into another one or try to say I'm in the gym now and then you're all and I'm not on social media like that. So I'm not posting anything. I'm not readily available to be seen. And I think it's better to kind of work on yourself mentally before you do anything of the sort. So you can physically look good on exterior, like from the exterior, but internally, if you don't have it all there, it's just going to be the same thing, same result.
Gotcha.
For me, I just feel like I look the best when I'm the happiest, and I'm the happiest when I'm single. So
Sad.
So she's happy.
All right.
Yeah.
Then a relationship shouldn't define if you're in a blissful state or not.
the only time I'm crying about being single is when I'm sick and have nobody to take care of me.
I'm surprised you do that.
Yeah.
Because come a time in everyone's life, everyone is always getting older. You need someone there to
Relationship and still be sick and
Mhm.
someone doesn't take care of you.
That true.
right, but like you said, it ebbs and flows.
It does.
There'll be
Or it
times-
just doesn't.
That's true.
I mean, because
Someone's jaded.
no, because
It's real.
it's like you are saying you get older and you need somebody to take care of you, but you would get older together.
Right.
Right.
So if you need to be taken care of, what happens if I need to be taken care of?
Hope it's not at the same time.
Well, that's not a good answer because
the best answer we
you
got.
can't control that.
A lot of
And
people,
so that's
they
why
got
we're
cats
not
and
going to
dogs.
rely on,
If
we're
you
not going to
fall down,
depend, we're not going to depend
they're gonna eat you.
and count on having someone for the sake of taking care of me.
Some people have strong relationships in their life that aren't romantic, and they make up for all that. I have my sister and my brother-in-law Phil, and like that's all that I need. They take care
What
of
if
me
they
when I'm
move
sick.
away though?
I guess I'm moving with them.
Or what about just
People
being
just have to build
independent?
a new family.
I'm
Yeah.
not saying you can't be independent, but I mean, in these days where our financial status. I mean, everything is so much higher. We have shrinkflation, price of gas, price of housing, price of tariffs, yeah, price of rent. Everything's going up. It only helps you to have someone with you.
So, is that what you want out of a relationship, though?
Right. Do you
Is
want a
I'm
woman
not saying
using
it's the
you
only thing, no.
for
But it's
what
a
you
because
can
that's the
provide?
conversation came back full circle
That
now.
$100.
Right.
Which one is
No.
it? Do you want
Right.
it because hey, now I can get someone to split my rent, or hey, I'm really with someone who genuinely loves me
Not
and
at
cares
all.
for
I'm
me.
talking about long term. Long term. 'Cause I think about my parents. They're both in their golden years right now. My dad's 81. My mom's 70 something. And while they're in decent health, and my dad has had health issues with the fact where if no one's around, he would have passed away. But my mom was there to help him out. That's what I'm getting at. So
That's what kids are for.
That's what
the kids are
I
home
for.
wasn't
health
there.
aides. You can pay someone. I mean, yes, having a partner is great because you have the comfort of having someone who loves you. But if that person's not capable of taking care of you or willing to take care of you, ultimately, at the end of the day, your partner could die at any point.
You're right.
You're going to have a backup plan. Children are not a backup plan. Friends, family are not a backup plan. You better stack away some money and get a nurse.
You know how much that costs? And
I don't care how
I-
much it
I
costs.
live in this town in
It's the real
2025.
truth.
What gas is like $3. I don't have to pay for gas anymore, but $3.20, whatever it is
It's
right
just
now.
the real truth.
You
Start
think it's-
saving now.
Is it cheap? I mean, is it
Start saving now.
how much you got in your 401k?
Don't worry about me.
All right. Exactly. That's what I'm trying to get. You
Let's
got to
make it work
start
over here. But the
future
other
thinking
thing
and
is,
future-proofing things.
but the future proofing, the answer solution, even now for me, like, is not to
Yeah.
sub somebody into that place for that
I'm not
purpose.
saying sub them in for that. I'm just saying that you shouldn't think about going through life by yourself.
No,
And they just
Why can't you though?
I mean, you're
by
not
myself.
going through by yourself. You have friends, you have family, you have people that you can genuinely love and be a companion, and not in a relationship where it's you and I hand in hand, day in, day out. Having someone like that does not mean you're going to have someone to take care of you when you're sick. If that was the case, you see people get married every day, and when someone gets sick, cancer or
Mhm.
anything, I'm out of here.
Did-
So
Sorry, go ahead.
no, keep going.
I just wanted to throw out a little morbid fact, but when women are diagnosed with cancer, the doctors provide them with divorce counseling because it's so statistically high that the man's just going to up and leave.
Stats.
So,
Hey, you don't
Let's
want that.
talk about it. No,
We're
but
talking
you
about
do.
one
You do.
person.
You do.
We're
Go
talking
with the
about
facts,
me, her,
sister.
and her
Go
stuff.
with the facts.
I don't want to hear no stats from
so
you.
in that case, if that woman got into the relationship thinking she had found somebody who loved her and would be there to support her, and then she gets a pamphlet like that, that means across the board, this is happening so much to women that they said, you know what, as medical professionals, we need to prepare you for this because here it comes.
in addition to having the fight of your life, your spouse might leave you
Right.
in this process.
Right.
Not might. Well, probably.
We got a fact checker checking facts. What we got, King? All right, we'll come back to that.
I think and you the way you're stating it is almost like an assumption that somebody's saying they don't want to be with a
That's what
partner.
it's
like
sounding to me.
I mean,
I'm
and
just
like
improving
I
your
don't know her
chances, you
reasoning,
know?
but in my I'm happy when I'm single too,
Mhm.
and I have family, friends, and whatever. But I'm not gonna seek a partner just because of inflation or the economy or anything like that. Because I promise you,
Mhm.
I'd rather have, and I'm okay, but I'd rather have less monetary or tangible things than somebody that's gonna disturb
Your
Your
piece.
piece.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, and it's not like I'm adverse to a partner. It's just I am adverse to a disturbance.
Most people are. Most people want to keep their
Um,
peace. Well, I'm just talking about you. What we got?
Those rates are bad.
What we got?
Women are since the divorce and separation rate increases to 20.8%, supporting what happens. Men as patients is 2.9.
wow.
So
It's women stay.
now
and
that
men
we
come
have
go.
facts, what do you think about that?
I'm well informed now, and I
Good.
appreciate.
And so, how are
facts.
you going to
Good.
save the world? How are you going to save How are you going to save all of them now?
Information.
Back
And
my-
tell them that they need to do better.
How
Yeah.
are you going to do that now that you got the facts?
Well, I'm going to tell them that look, you got to find someone who loves
Look
you.
at the camera and tell them.
Find someone who loves you, and you got to stick in there for the long haul. Because especially if you're married, no shade if anyone, but if you're married, that's what you take those vows for sicker, for better, for I don't even know.
Or
Thank you. I've never been married, so I'm not the vows. But you know what I'm trying to say, sicker and better, whatever. But that's what it's supposed to be about. And we're going further, and we're coming away from that further and further. Nowadays, I'm tripping my words tonight.
Got
But
him nervous.
got
Got him
him
nervous.
Ooh, now it's triggered.
I'm good. I'm good. It's just that we have to, I think, get into relationships for not just, in case someone falls and they need some help getting up, but for the love, for the companionship, for everything else that encompasses that, and not for what someone can do for you. But that does play a part of it. Let's not be naive about that. So I'd say it's very important for the men who their wife may get cancer or their girlfriend might get cancer to stay. I feel like I would, because I only want to get married once. I've talked about this before, and I'm going to be in it for the long haul no matter what happens. Now, if I was the one to get sick, I probably would say, if you want to leave, I'd be okay with that, because I don't want you to have to, feel like you have to be here for me. I feel like I'd make that sacrifice and say, no.
You're staying with me. You're staying with me.
Well, I appreciate that.
But I have a question for you, Sean.
Yeah.
In the last episode, you made a statement that it was better back in the day when your parents chose your spouse. With
No,
what you just said.
Your father chooses.
Okay, father, whatever. One person. With what you just said, do you want to change your answer, or are you still sticking to it? Should you marry for love, or should you let your parent pick your spouse?
There's only certain cultures nowadays where the parents pick your spouse. Typically, it's I want to make sure I'm saying this right.
That's not what I'm asking.
No, right.
What I'm asking is, you said it was better back in the day when your father could pick your spouse.
Yeah.
Now you just said that you need to be marrying for love. Which is it? Do you want your parent to assign you someone who looks good on paper, or do you want that love connection?
That doesn't mean that love will be absent from that if your parents helping you pick the person to marry.
No.
Right, that's not the point, though.
What?
Arranged marriage, or you
I'm
said helping.
I'm not talking arranged marriage. What I was talking to you about 2 weeks ago is when you find someone, whether it's male or female, typically 60s, 50s, whatever, you bring them back to your parents, and your parents then vet them. Not saying they say you can't date that person. Well, they may say that, but they help you to pick the right person. It's not about.
And what's the criteria at that point?
Right.
Like, what was so good about their judgment? Like, what were the check marks? What was the checklist? And were we, now that we're so much more aware of patterns, emotions,
Right.
everything that play into making up a person, was that even a conversation back then? Like, was that on the list? He's a good problem solver. He takes accountability. Blah 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 blah. Like, was that on the checklist?
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
No.
Okay, see, here's what happens. Here's what would happen. Typically, and not all the time, but typically, the father would have some alone time with the boy, and then they go do an activity together of some sort, and they have a conversation, a man-to-man talk. That way, the father can.
where the father threatens the future son.
Yeah, we're talking about.
Hold on. So the father can get an accurate, as far as what he knows, as far as what men and boys, how we grow up and how we are, and get an accurate representation of this person in front of him who's wanting to date his daughter and hopefully marry his daughter. Now, being absent from the whole process, you're inviting possible issues. Now, if you were to sit there and say you don't trust your father to make those kind of decisions, or not so much decision, but losing my words here once again, to evaluate that person, then that's where you're going to run into issues. And I'm saying, once again, I want to reiterate, the father wasn't there to pick the person for you, like how Forrest just walked in and said, okay, he's going to be your husband. No, you find someone you like, you bring them back to meet the family, and the family meets them. Huh?
Isn't that what people do now?
No, because a lot of times things are broken up to pieces.
What would you ask your potential son-in-law? What would you discuss that you're going to have an accurate assessment of who he is in your alone time? What is your checklist?
Sometimes it isn't just about questions; it's about his body language, how he
Your
speaks.
feelings?
How
Your
he
feelings
speaks
about
to you.
him?
Not at all. I'm being 100% serious right now. It's about how he speaks to you. If he can speak to you and convey his point, his mindset accurately, and he's also working a decent job, You can ask him about his family and his parents, how he was raised. These are the things that dads used to do when dads were in the picture.
And people are really good at circling back to the beginning, manipulating,
Yeah.
where they can just have a conversation and sit there and tell you everything you want to hear. Oh, yeah, I grew up in so and so. Oh, yeah, my parents, I have both parents. Oh, yeah, playing right on into that.
But
And
is
you
it
be
better
like,
to have that done or to not have it done?
I'm saying at that point, it doesn't matter if you did it or not. If that person is putting on a show, they're lying to you in your face, and you're
And
like, yeah, he's a good one. He's got a good job.
But
He
if he
has
is,
both parents. Da, 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 da. But you have skipped over the most valuable things that you would ask
that's
someone.
assuming that your dad isn't going to be able to evaluate this
But I
person
just
correctly.
asked you. I just asked you the
Yeah.
questions, and you on a basic checklist. Does he have a good job? What's his body language? But
How's he speaking to me? How does he
I'm
carry
saying
himself?
that somebody can do and hit all the marks and still be a snake.
It isn't
Yes.
just-
And you're
it
not
isn't
going
off
to
of just
get that
one
off
meeting,
of a
though.
well,
It's not just off of one meeting,
and
Candace.
you can get married to a person
Mhm.
and that still be, and that could be years worth of all the meetings and blah blah blah, and still be wrong about it.
Yeah.
I mean, living with a
I'm
person
not saying
and
that it's going
still
to be
be wrong.
100% success rate, but what I am saying it's more valuable to have that person there to vet that person than to not.
I appreciate that thought process because even in my regard, I feel like I came back to that. Um, I mean, a higher value of that. Like I know, like in our society, like it's more so projected for us to do things independently, and if you like this person, then you should be because you're the one marrying them. But at this point, I have realized that at least for me, my family's really close. I have two parents. They've been married for almost 40 years now. I have five brothers. It's just I'm the only girl, and it's really like you you are incorporated into a family. We're not going to be in your business,
Right.
but and just as much as you incorporate into a family, I will hope I'm incorporated into a family. And I've seen from relationships that it does matter in that regard. And we've seen because of I won't like from like well I've seen and I would say we've like my family seen like from my brother's relationships like and sometimes when we're involved one-on-one with people we don't see what other people can see because we're blinded by
Right.
our feelings. But it's been instances where we like, well, this person seems kind of a little disrespectful. You might not see it, but and disrespectful to you.
Right.
And if they will do this, this, and this might come down the line. And lo and behold, we're not wishing for it, but it did. And now
Right.
now it's not a marriage or whatever, but and that's a learning experience for them and everybody involved. But I'm like, well, at this point I feel like if I was to take somebody serious, they wouldn't need to meet my family, and I probably would take my family's um opinions. It wouldn't be as Bible, but it would be
Yeah.
it will hold some weight.
Yeah.
I say that.
Mhm.
For sure. Because I'm cognizant that my feelings would be involved, and it's like, oh, he checking the boxes, he this and that or whatever, and like, and just to gather all that feedback and have a more objective point of view.
100%. That's what I was getting at. I don't want to hold you up because Kendra's saying she does have to go. So, but I appreciate you stopping by and also you, Kendra, as well. And your answer was quite lovely. I'll make sure I keep going on top of that if we need to. But you guys have anything to say before you take off?
I do not. Thank you guys for having us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Cause.
Okay. No longer rolling, right?
Don't say anything embarrassing.
All right, bye guys.
Yeah, see you later. Oh, that's nice.
Oh, can you grab my water so
What time is it?
9:00.
thanks, sir. Right. Yeah.
All right. Where do you want? Where do you want?
Let's fall right in. Just yeah, follow.
I like to take the in over there. All right.
Of course, pop on in.
Oh. Yeah.
So did I answer your question well enough, Ashley?
No.
I did.
Now, what was her name? Bree?
Brianna.
Brianna. Okay, what Brianna was saying, yes, that 100% makes sense. To you select your partner, you bring them home for review to your family.
Yep.
Workshop them around your family, see what their family thinks. But that's not what you were saying. What you were saying was that your father would have a one-on-one time with the guy. And you said during the 50s and 60s. So when they had laws on how big of an instrument you could beat your wife with, you wanted men back then to sit down with another man and be like, yeah, firm handshake. You're good for my daughter. You work at a finance company, you make money, you'll be able to give her babies and set her up. Yeah, you'll be good. They're not asking about his emotional intelligence. They're not asking how he'll intimately protect her emotions. That's not a conversation that honestly is even appropriate for a father to have with that guy because it could all just be bullshit. So it's one of those things where it's like, yes, your family is going to be very important, but you're taking it to ye olden time where your father is like, just like, yes, this guy is perfect for you. Go ahead and go, not considering your own feelings or just anyone else's feelings.
What I said was, if you we'll use your example, if you're bringing a man back to your father, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you already like the person. You just grab him off the streets, not some random person. You have some sort of interest or romantic interest in him already. So you're now bringing him back to the family for a vetting, whether it's the father, the mother, brother, and sister, because unless they're some sort of ultra narcissist, they're most likely not going to be able to get past everyone. Someone's going to pick up on something that is some sort of red flag they didn't like. He might have said something weird, might have saw him stealing the silverware out of one of the drawers or whatever it is. So that's why it was important to bring someone back to your family for that review and that vetting. Because I'm not just saying that it's a yay or nay from the father only, it's not at all. And for you to say that, oh, it's a man in the 50s and 60s, and he's going to just see if it's two men, he's going to beat on the woman. Where's it coming from?
I didn't say, first of all, I agree with you when you say that the family should be in review, but that's not what you said prior. Because even when I said parents, you said father. So you wanted
As the
only
example,
okay, but you weren't open to the broader family reviewing this person. You wanted just the dad.
no, I did not say
Okay,
just the
well,
dad.
In today's
That's how you
example,
worded
you
it.
did because you
Yes.
said we're going to sit down man to man.
Right.
In that part of the example, but I didn't say the family is the rest of the family is exempt from it. I'm
But
just
do
saying
you
that's what
Well,
understand
then
why
be
she?
specific.
You
What?
understand why then she would? Because I took it the same way. I wasn't here for last week's conversation or whenever you guys had that conversation, but you had said it as if it was like meeting the father. You initially said the parents pick, but when you went into your explanation, it was heavy on the father picking for the daughter. The father is having the conversation. And so, like, with her explanation of it, it's like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Just like, and you said, don't we do that? We do that. We bring our significant other around the family, and it is kind of like, all right, let's see how this goes. And it's either going to go good or it's going to go bad. But no questions are being asked aside from general conversation, and people get their vibe, whatever vibe it is. If they do something that's off the wall, it's like, okay, yeah, that picks up on something. But you don't have to be an ultra whatever narcissist, because unless you are asking specific questions to see, like in the style that you were saying, then you may not get that, because again, a narcissist is good at putting on a show.
You're right.
And it doesn't have to be some over the top show. So you could ask questions and still be wrong. But like, I think we bring our person around the family to get what it is that, for example, she said, we're looking for that. Let me see how you vibe with my family. Whatever, if something comes up, whatever it may be. But like, if it goes well, it goes well. But if it doesn't, I don't need to know the reason. I need to go back and rethink this for myself, because I don't know what happened, but you didn't mesh well with my family. So that has an impact on me. And yeah,
Women are the best at putting on a show, by the way.
don't start. Don't start.
And to clarify
No, it's
what my
true.
point that I had made about you're asking a father during the 50s and 60s to vet a man for his daughter when it was legal to beat your wife. Do you really think do you think that he's going to okay.
Are you?
Right.
But you're basically saying that every man's going to beat every woman he's with.
when it's
That's
the
just-
norm and it's legal and there will be no repercussions because it's just what happens.
So women shouldn't have got with men then.
No,
Is that what you're trying to say?
no. But it's weird that you leapt there, but here we are.
Because you're basically saying all men were
No, no,
beating
no,
their women
no.
back then.
I was saying that how could your father, during a time when it was legal to beat your wife,
Do you think
pick
father
a
wanted his daughter to be
spouse?
beaten?
He probably beat her when she was a child. So what I'm saying
A lot of
is,
assumptions being thrown around here.
not necessarily, but what I was saying is, yes, it makes sense to have the family vet the person. You kept going down the path of the father. The father is not going to be the one who's going to be able to suss out whether or not this guy is going to protect his daughter or not, when he himself is not protecting his wife because he's the abuser.
Yeah.
However, we're talking about the 50s and 60s,
You're basically assuming
which
that
is
every man in
when
the 50s and 60s was beating his wife.
it was legal.
You're
And
assuming that by the way you are
But
conveying
we
this
are
to me.
talking about a time where women had less rights,
Right.
and children more
Sure.
seen as
I
like
agree with you.
property.
I've gotten hit by a woman, by the way.
Okay. Anyways, but when it was
Yeah, I know, right?
normalized,
That happens.
when it was normalized,
Mhm.
I'm saying, how on earth would this father be able to pick a good partner for his daughter in a time when it was normalized to beat your wife?
Because fathers love their children and fathers want to have the best for their children. Yes, there are fathers that abuse their kids out there. It happens even today, even though it's illegal today. So what I'm saying is, if you have children, the majority of people who have children want to see the best for their children. So for you to sit there and say that, oh, he's a father, in fact, in the 50s and 60s, it was legal to beat women, and you're saying that, oh, Susie brings home Johnny, and the father's like, oh, as long as you don't beat her too hard, or at least you don't beat her, as hard as I used to, we're good. No, that's ridiculous.
So are the marriage statistics worse today simply because their gender has more rights and it is easier to get out? Because, Sean, on one hand, I'm hearing that, and in other spaces, that time period seemed to be better for nuclear families, only because it seemed like there were a lot more nuclear families and less divorces than there are now. No fault divorces didn't come until way later on.
Right.
I don't know if we can go back to nuclear families
Mhm.
because of no fault divorces in the current time that we have now.
Just because your parents are divorced doesn't mean you still can't bring that person around your family.
There's that.
What?
Like, just because people are divorced and families are all broken up doesn't mean you can't bring them around your family and that they still can't vet them.
Yeah, I didn't say that. I mean, that's fine.
But to your comment, King, you have to pay attention to what the laws were back then. If women couldn't own their own bank accounts, if they couldn't have land, if they couldn't own property, you have a incentive to stay married. Whether that relationship is horrible or not, what are you going to do if you leave? Society is going to look at you like, oh, wow, you're a divorced woman. If there's a stigma against divorce coming from other women, coming from other men, you have more of an incentive to stay in a horrible position because perhaps you're terrified of what your life would look like if you leave. Do you really want women to stay in this position? Nowadays, if there's a problem in the marriage and it cannot be solved and they really need to just separate and go find someone else, do you want people to just stay just for the sake of staying in a relationship?
No, they shouldn't. But that's what scares me about marriages, period. The moment that somebody goes, I'm not happy, the relationship's doomed.
Can I ask you, are you married?
I was married for 14 years, got divorced in 2019, and I'm in a relationship now, and I've been very clear to the person that I'm with that I can see us doing a life together. The title of husband and wife isn't something that's clear to me
Okay.
in that picture.
So it sounds like you're speaking from a place of hurt and you're scared.
It's observational. Like, look around.
Well,
I'm sorry. I'm
okay.
sorry.
It's always the
I did
hurt.
not mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
Continue.
But what I was going to say is, yes, I can totally understand. You don't want to go into a marriage. You don't want to give your all to somebody just for it to go kaput 5 years later. But that's a part of the future that you can't control. All you can control is who you are, your actions, and your reactions. So if it at any point it breaks down, that's sad and that sucks. But you're not guaranteed forever with anybody. They could die. They could decide they want to be a completely different person. And it's scary. And I'm sorry that happened to you. But at the same time, at least the way it's coming across when you're phrasing it, is that you somehow want women to stay trapped in these marriages for whatever reason, just because
I'm
your experience has led you to be scared to enter another marriage.
I'm wondering what happened to obligation, duty to each other, duty to like honor the marriage. And maybe that sounds very I don't know, chivalrous, or I'm not quite sure of the right word. Yet if I'm showing up honoring my commitment, to have somebody wake up, go to sleep, and decide the next day that I don't want to do this when I've done my duty to this commitment, to this relationship, yeah, that scares me.
Yeah, and that sucks because, like you just said, you did your part. But at the end of the day, you can't control what that other person does because they're a person themselves. They have different experiences than you. They might be going through something. They might need to be on a different path. And that sucks. And it's sad when marriages fall apart because of that. But there's nothing you can do to stop that. And when you're phrasing it in terms of wanting women to stay because they have a duty to their marriage, no, that's it's like it's a business and it's not a business. It's two people who have said, "Yes, I want to be here. I want to be by your side and I'm going to stick through it." Now, that looks different for everybody. There are going to be times when it gets really, really bad. There are going to be times when people separate. But for the most part, it's a lot to detangle yourself from a marriage. And as someone who has people in my life that need a divorce, they're constantly making excuses for why the other person's behaving how they're behaving. Us on the outside, we can see it's done, it's over. But it's not happening so much that people are just waking up and going, I want to leave. You know what? I need a new life. I want to start over. It takes a lot for people to untangle themselves from it. If you're combined financially, if you have children, if you have friends together, if you have family together, guaranteed that woman has thought long and hard, and maybe even had conversations. And then one day she's like, I'm done. But if you haven't necessarily been paying attention to the conversations or even the way she's been acting, it seems like it came out of left field. I was with my ex for 5.5 years. I know he thinks it came out of left field, but we had a bunch of conversations. I gave him a bunch of chances. I mean, never mind the fact that I am actually lesbian. When I thought I wanted to stick with him, when I thought I wanted to marry him, I gave him a bunch of chances. He did things that he shouldn't have done. He did things that it was like, yeah, this is really damaging to our relationship, but I gave him a bunch of chances. And then he never fixed it. He would say he would, and then he'd go right back to doing it. And then I was like, okay, I'm done. And I'm sure to him, it was like, what do you mean? Those were warnings.
And lack of accountability.
Yeah.
Yeah. I came in on the tail end, but like
Thank you.
exactly what you just said is
Yeah.
exactly what happened in my life. I didn't arrive to like, I want a divorce. It was like, all right, shit's not working. What are we gonna do? AKA, let's problem solve. Maybe is it something I'm doing? Like trying again, trying again. You pulling out everything. I mean, you don't I can't speak for everybody, but I will say that not I can't speak for everybody. If you got some statistic somewhere that says women just arrive at I want a divorce, but like that exactly what you said was the route. And it took years. I mean, I would record myself in order to validate myself and my own experiences because just how you say, oh, it came out of nowhere. No, here was this big problem, or just a problem, or just something I should be able to communicate about. And then it's not, hey, you're wrong. It's like, this is making me feel this way. I'm about to go and talk about it wish me luck. I don't think it's going to go well because zero accountability. And so, without accountability, even just to say, wow, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that was affecting you in that way. How do we change this? How do we problem solve this together to make sure we don't keep doing this? Because I don't want you to feel that way. I mean, it's so layered. And so it says a lot. Like, if I'm telling you this has affected me negatively and you signed up and you talked with my dad who said you could protect me and protect my safety, but also my feelings, because are you asking that? Are you looking for that? And here you are, I'm telling you my feelings are shit right now as a result of A, B, and C. And you're like, no, no, no. And so we run into the same problem, same problem. So I'm withdrawing, I'm withdrawing. Oh, you barely even kiss me anymore. Like, it's not overnight. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And so you get to a point where it's like, okay, so what are we doing? I've tried the trying. I've tried the problem solving. So you push me there.
And there are statistics surrounding how many times women talk about the issues with their spouse before they take the leap for divorce. These statistics are backed up by divorce lawyers and therapists. And if you want to go back to women holding themselves accountable, when women say in a relationship, let's go to therapy, that's the accountability, because that therapist is meant to be a neutral party.
Yeah.
So that therapist is not supposed to take either side. They're just supposed to let each person have a turn to talk and let things unfold naturally.
Yeah. And sometimes, and within that space, I mean, if you're holding yourself accountable, some shit doesn't feel good to hear when the therapist is remaining neutral, but that is their job.
Yeah.
Because it's like you want to jump in and be like, but wait, no, but it's like, nah, I'm sitting, I'm gonna eat this one. That's accountability. But therapists are great. Therapy helps, therapy works, but like to even have to get to that point, because we should be able to work our problems out just the two of us. But if not, we elicit some help. And if the help don't help, guess what?
Yeah. Divorce. Yeah.
I've got a large family. Sean changed the camera. I've got a large family, and my daughter just graduated high school this past week, and I'm excited for her to be an adult. But when I think about something, this is sad to think about this. On her mom's side of the family or my side of the family, there might be on less than one hand successful couples that have been in their first marriage that have been happy throughout that entire marriage. Of all of my family members, to include her uncles, aunties, grandparents, and things like that. How did it get so bad to where people can't look up and that's the majority, not the minority, but that's the majority. How did it get that bad?
It gets that bad when people don't hold themselves accountable inside of their relationship. No matter what gender it is, when one person is saying, hey, this thing you're doing is hurting me, I need you to stop. And the other person's like, I'm not doing that thing. Or just simply says, yes, okay, I'll stop. And then doesn't stop or whatever. What do you want from these people? Sometimes people get together who should never be together for whatever reasons, stupid reasons or whatever. The timing feels right. Nobody has a crystal ball and nobody can see into the future. But when these people enter into these marriages, they don't enter in to get divorced. They want to sit down and they want to build a home and they want to be comfortable. You seem to care deeply about seeing marriages intact rather than actually being like, you see an intact marriage as a sign of success. When in reality, there's mold and debris and dirt and decay in that marriage that the outside person cannot see, because those are intimate conversations between the couple that you'll never be privy to. You just want to see people still married for happily married, but
You can't control the happy.
right.
You control the happy.
Ooh.
You control the happy as in when you put in the work. And the work can look a lot different. It can be accountability. It can be something completely different. It could be a gambling issue. It could be a drug addiction. It could be so many things. But like, that's the reality. At the end of the day, we're all human and we're all coming with our baggage. We're all coming with our tendencies, our patterns, and all of that. But like, when you say, I signed up to do this for life, it's like, the things, even like it's just words right now when we're like, the person's not holding themselves accountable or whatever. But like, to actually be in it, it's like, do you want to stay in that?
I get you, and I'm with you. I think that, there are reasons why people should divorce and people should split up and leave. But I think what King is getting at is, why is the number so high nowadays? Why even get that step of marriage?
Because people used to just tough it out and be completely miserable.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
So
and
no one
If
should.
I'm over the age of 20 now, marriage doesn't seem like anything I want to be a part of.
and that's okay.
Right.
That's all right. Because how are you right now? Like, you are divorced and your daughter is successful. She just graduated high school. You're in a relationship where I assume you're happy. Like, it didn't work, but it's okay. Your life is still your life and you still have to live it. I mean, do you have to wear a stain because it didn't work? Or do you get to reframe it and be like, and now, my daughter is here as a result of my marriage. That didn't work out, but a lot of shit's working out for me now, and I'm happy about my life. It's not, maybe it's not ideal, but maybe it is because my daughter is doing great. Her mom, and, she's over there with her mom and she's doing great. She's over here with me and she's doing great. I'm doing great. So what's to complain about? I'm not saying you're complaining, but does it have to be a stain?
I think you would. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. You would prefer to have kept your family together.
Yes.
But
That's what we're getting at. Most, I'm not gonna say most, I'm gonna say people would prefer to keep their families together.
Absolutely. But
It
they
just
didn't
seems
put in
like
the work, or
Right.
this didn't happen,
Right.
or this didn't happen. So if we're all over here in a powwow talk about you prefer your marriage to work, you prefer your marriage to work, it's like, great. If you want your marriage to work, do the shit.
Right.
Don't keep doing the thing that I'm saying doesn't make me feel good.
right.
You
So
can't overcome yourself to not do it. Well, then guess what? That was your part in the marriage not working. Taking accountability. It happened.
so do you think that people are rushing into marriages then? Because
Oh, for sure.
right. So what would be the solution to that then? Do you think we should put some sort of time limit on it? Like you have to be with someone for 3 years, 5 years, 10
I think
years?
the biggest thing
Go to
is that
counseling first, maybe, or
people get into marriages for different reasons. But sometimes people get into marriages because they just want somebody to love them. And it doesn't mean that that person that they're with and they're deciding to get married to is even showing them love. I had a friend once who he married this lady after dating her for 6 months and then proceeded to cheat on her with me. But I didn't know he was even married. And long story short, when I found out, and then later on we had a conversation about it, I said, why did you even marry her when you started a relationship with me after you married her? You were single before. We could have been together before. What was that about? And he just straight up said, women, I can't say no to them. And that is the dumbest thing I have ever heard. But that was his true, honest answer. People have just, you want people to take something like marriage seriously. But unfortunately, people don't even take their health seriously. So they're not going to take marriage seriously. People think it's something cute to do. Like, remember when Britney Spears ran off to the altar and got married for like 72 hours or whatever? It's just like a fun thing for people to do. They don't realize how deep and how serious it is and how much work it is. One argument shouldn't implode the marriage.
agreed.
So, but these people don't have the emotional intelligence. They're not willing to reflect. They're not willing to hold themselves accountable. And then things just crumble. But also within these marriages, when they're jumping into these marriages, they just want to play house. I mean, I know it's a horrible example, but that show Love After Lockup, these people are rushing to the altar with a person who didn't get to schedule their own bedtime. And now they want this person to play house and pay bills and be responsible. Like, you're hoping everybody is emotionally intelligent and you're hoping everybody's respectful and responsible, but that's just not how the world works.
And sometimes, I mean, from my own personal experience, I wasn't, I think it was 30 or I just turned 30 when I got married. But like the things that ultimately led to our downfall, I wasn't privy to anyway. So like I wouldn't have known a red flag for a red flag. Not to say that I was really naive, but like, the things that I'm aware of now after everything, it's like I had no idea about any of this. Even being in it, like I didn't really even know. So I that would be one thing
You
that
guys didn't live together before you got married, did you?
we did.
We did.
We did. I can look back and see things that were there then. It's not like things changed completely. I can see what I experienced and that it was present then, but I didn't know. And then dynamics changed, like when we had a kid, that really brought things out. So I wouldn't have been able to pick up on those things. Um, but going back to how, we were joking, chatting about like what would you do with these facts so you could help somebody. I think that having these types of conversations in depth the way that we are is enlightening for somebody, because there could be some young adult out there watching this that hasn't run into any of these situations, and it might feel like a foreign language to them. But like, there's a lot of us sitting around the table throwing around the word accountability. And like I said, years ago, I mean, sure, I could look it up and get the gist of it, but what it looks like in relationships, and not just intimate relationships, friendships, raising awareness, I think, would help. And then too, like we've talked about this on a previous podcast, like I think that is why, not just like for not rushing, but gaining general experience with different people helps.
Right.
And so time, like waiting, intentionally waiting or not, giving yourself time for experience would help.
Conquer test. I'm joking.
Yeah. You see how that differs from the test that you led with though?
Just a little test.
Okay.
But yeah, we're gonna move on from this question. We got one more thing. I know it's getting a little bit late. Yeah, this time is flying.
We're gonna have to go hit somebody
Can I
else
have
for
'em?
the birria tacos unless
like-
we're going now.
Pure
But
tacos.
Nine
that sounds
25.
delicious, doesn't it?
It
Yeah, the
does.
place that I wanted to get him from closed at 10. So
We will wrap up here in the next 10 minutes.
no,
So,
no, that's okay. I mean, yeah, we can wrap it up, but it's gonna be another restaurant.
So we're gonna hop right into the emotional intelligence that I spoke on. Just gonna go right into the video first, and then we're gonna talk about how y'all feel about it. This one.
Do you ladies feel like women are seriously ready for emotionally intelligent men?
Okay, let's talk about what emotional intelligence comes with before we even get into this conversation, okay? We're talking about you wanting a man who is tolerant, who regulates his emotions, who also knows how to manage your emotions. But you're also talking about a man who knows how to navigate his sensitivities and everything else when it comes to that. But you have to consider that an emotionally intelligent man is good at cutting people off when he sees that your sensitivities bring too much reactivity. When he sees that you cannot regulate your emotions. When he sees that you have a low tolerance. This type of man that you are asking for is a man who will walk you out the door in a heartbeat if he feels like you are disrupting his peace. If he feels like there's any level of disrespect, because there's a lot that comes with emotional intelligence. So if you asking for that, you got to come with the same level of emotional intelligence as well. Okay? That comes with a number of factors. So if you are a woman who knows that even though you may be sensitive to certain things like criticism, rejection, because you're not always going to be accepted. Sometimes he's going to bounce back, and sometimes he's going to say, I don't agree with your opinion. Sometimes he's going to say, I don't like those thoughts. Sometimes he's going to say, I don't like the way you speak to me. If you're not ready for that, don't be asking for an intelligent man.
Thoughts on that? How do you feel?
I see nothing wrong with it.
Right. But one thing I will say about that clip in general is that I watched that lady before. I've seen her before on a couple other things. She doesn't know anything about that lady. She doesn't know the lady who asked the question. I mean, she doesn't, like, the way she phrased it was kind of weird. Like, yes, a man who is emotionally intelligent should know what he wants. He should know when to cut people off, when to cut his losses, and when to move on. But then she flipped it and threw it at women and was like, don't be too sensitive. Don't expect him to accept you. There's something off about that, not besides the fact that it looks like something you just ripped off of Facebook Reels that was meant to, lead people in a certain way. But
That's pretty much I don't think they really clipped anything out of that part of it.
I didn't say that you took it out of context. I just mean sometimes we have to be, I've been paying attention to this lately. We have to be careful what content we're taking in to see where it's trying to lead us. This lady is over here saying, ladies, you got to be this, you got to be that, you got to be this, that, and the fifth if you want an emotionally intelligent man. Well,
But
duh.
women are always saying that they want their equal or someone better than.
I get what you're saying. It's like, don't dumb yourself down. If you are who you are, let me backtrack. I feel like she's calling women. I took it like she's calling women to a level of accountability. But you shouldn't have to change yourself to attract. You shouldn't have to change yourself to attract what you're looking for, I guess. At huh?
Microphone.
Oh, sorry. But at the same time, it's like be ready for what you're asking for.
I think most people, or a lot of women, don't know the true definition of emotional intelligence. And I think it's just somebody who puts up with their emotions, and that's not what it is.
Yeah, no, I
Yes.
agree.
Yeah. So
I
I
agree.
didn't like that clip at all because none of it, she just didn't know what she was talking about all the way around.
Yeah.
Sean, when was the last time somebody that you were in a relationship with was overly critical with you, and how did you take it?
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what's really happened.
The reason why I'm asking is because when I heard that clip, the parts that I heard was ladies are asking for men that are emotionally intelligent. Yet when that same emotionally intelligent man does bring a critique or something like that, in general, the lady doesn't handle it well.
Yeah.
And she was saying, don't be quick to like blow up on that guy that you asked for emotional intelligence from. And when he does give a critique, now you're like, oh, I don't want that.
I think we need to define emotional intelligence.
Yeah, and then critique too, because I received it as I might have tuned out at a certain point, but I heard her say like, "Don't be surprised if he walks you right on out of his life." But I received that as like he sees something that like, hey, this isn't for me. It's disturbing my peace. So like, maybe I'm looking at it from a point of emotional awareness, self-awareness, where it's like, if this isn't good for me, then let me show you the door. It doesn't have to be an aggressive thing, but it's like aware that this isn't for me. I don't gel well with this. And so rather than entertaining it further and leading us down a path that I already know is not good for me, let's go on and cut it.
That clip also.
Quick pause. My cousin Andrew was watching. He said my mic hasn't been working the whole time. So if you can hear me,
Damn.
I know.
Oh,
If you can hear me now, give us a thumbs up or just shoot me a quick text. Sorry, go ahead.
Anyways, that clip also lacks a lot of nuance because the guy could come to you and provide criticism in a really rude way. You don't have to take that. Maybe it is valid criticism, but the way he's delivering it might be the problem.
Somebody with emotional intelligence wouldn't do that, though.
But the other thing is, what does emotional intelligence look like for the masses? Is it just a man who holds himself kind of stoic and calm? Or is it truly someone who can get vulnerable with themselves and be real with someone else? Because we have a lot of these men who they want to lead, they want the dominance, and they think that being someone with emotional intelligence means you don't react quickly and you just kind of bottle it up and hold it all in. So I think it's important that, I mean, we're never going to have, all the details for that conversation, but it's important for people listening. And when you're thinking about this, it doesn't mean that the guy needs to be rude to you and that you have to just accept it. He might be right in what he's saying. His critique might be valid, but he doesn't get to deliver it in a disrespectful way. And then you have to take it because you're supposed to be emotionally intelligent as well. And you're supposed to not have to react quickly. For example, if let's say you had a baby and he's like, "Ooh, you're getting kind of fat there." If that hurt you, you're allowed to be hurt by it. You're allowed to say, "You know what? When you said that, I really didn't care for that. That really did, you could have said it in a nicer way." Or whatever. It doesn't mean you get to just provide criticism to the person and they just have to take it. So I think it's important to pay attention to that because that can lead into kind of a toxic, abusive environment.
I feel like emotional intelligence is more like being able to have those conversations without
Right.
anyone getting offended by saying it.
Yes.
The problem is you have to still be careful. You have to be kind with the person that you love. You don't have to baby them, but you don't have to treat them like they're
Agreed.
just somebody on the street that you really don't care if they like you tomorrow, So
What I observe is that people will ask for or say, I want an emotionally intelligent person, right? Man or woman. But when they get that person,
They don't actually want that person.
They don't
They don't
actually
that
want
part for them.
that person.
But what is emotionally intelligent though?
It's been a while since I've looked up the actual definition.
I mean to you.
It's understanding and being able to regulate your emotions as well as other people around you. So
You
like
shouldn't have to regulate other people's emotions.
But being aware.
being aware of
Yes, being aware.
their
Yeah.
emotions as well.
Yeah. So like I might have missed something in that clip because you guys have used the word critique and criticize. So maybe I don't fully support that, but like I feel like an emotionally aware and intelligent person wouldn't then turn and critique somebody because who are you? You know what I mean? Like, so you got it right and I don't, or you got it right and I don't, you know, like who are you to critique me versus like if it doesn't work for you, that's fine. But like you wouldn't come if you're emotionally intelligent and emotionally aware, because I feel like if I'm considering if someone's emotionally intelligent, I would say they're emotionally aware of others. They're aware of others' emotions. So you could say, you know, hey, I feel like I don't know, just using the, hey, you're getting a little fat there. It's like, why would you even say that? Because whoever wants to be called fat, context or not, like, why would you say that? I wouldn't consider that person
There's a
emotionally.
way to say it with
Right.
emotional
Yeah.
intelligence.
And if you can't
Yeah.
get that, then you ain't emotionally intelligent or aware. So I don't know. If somebody's critiquing somebody or whatever and then slapping I'm emotionally intelligent on top of it, then nah, I don't agree with that. That's not the same.
I don't think her definition of emotional intelligence was correct.
Oh, I'm sorry, I tuned out. Some of my stuff was null and void.
Do we have time to run it back? Because it's a short clip.
Maybe I just have
Maybe.
Yeah, it's coming up. It should be. Maybe not. I don't know. Might be stuck in limbo.
Oh, go back to the main cam. Now run it.
Do you ladies feel like women are seriously ready for emotionally intelligent men?
Okay, let's talk about what emotional intelligence comes with before we even get into this conversation, okay? We're talking about you wanting a man who is tolerant, who regulates his emotions, who also knows how to manage your emotions. But you're also talking about a man who knows how to navigate his sensitivities and everything else when it comes to that. But you have to consider that an emotionally intelligent man is good at cutting people off when he sees that your sensitivities bring too much reactivity. When he sees that you cannot regulate your emotions. When he sees that you have a low tolerance. This type of man that you are asking for is a man who will walk you out the door in a heartbeat if he feels like you are disrupting his peace. If he feels like there's any level of disrespect, because there's a lot that comes with emotional intelligence. So if you asking for that, you got to come with the same level of emotional intelligence as well. Okay? That comes with a number of factors. So if you are a woman who knows that even though you may be sensitive to certain things like criticism, rejection, because you're not always going to be accepted. Sometimes he's going to bounce back, and sometimes he's going to say, I don't agree with your opinion. Sometimes he's going to say, I don't like those thoughts. Sometimes he's going to say, I don't like the way you speak to me. If you're not ready for that, don't be asking for an intelligent man.
Okay, yes.
It was tolerance was the word that got me.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I can see the tolerance, but like the part where she's like, I don't like the way you speak to me. Thank you for speaking up and saying your feelings that hurt me instead of bottling it in. And then maybe having an outburst about it later because of something that happened and you didn't have the guts or you just sat on it rather than communicating.
What I got from that was, in its simplest form, is if you're asking for something, if that something's up here, you need to also be up here as well. You can't be down here asking for this and not willing to come up to this level as well. That's what I was getting from that clip as far as emotional intelligence go. Asking for a man to be A, B, C, D, E, and F, and you're only A, B, C, you know?
And when she said the man had to be tolerant, I'm like, tolerant of what?
How I felt about that clip.
Yeah, and then like kind of with the two here, like tolerant and you should be up here like um and if losing my train of thought here, but like I feel like some people will be like you're not emotionally intelligent or emotionally aware because
Like,
huh? Oh. Um I have emotions. I have emotions, I have feelings, and you're not understanding. Versus like, and I think that's where that tolerance come from, because you can have your emotions, you can have your feelings, but how do you regulate them so that you are not over the top with your emotions or your whatever, and what I'm supposed to tolerate that? Or do you want me to self-regulate? Can you self-regulate? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I get you.
I think one of the things she left out about emotional intelligence is also, and I hate to use this word, but giving people grace. Because yes, you want a partner who's going to be equally yoked with you. You want somebody who is at your level, but there are going to be times when whatever their experience is, they maybe have big emotions and they can't figure out what to do with those. And are you just going to cut them off? Are you just going to throw them away because maybe they're having a big reaction? There have been times when my wife and I have had tense discussions because maybe something comes from a place that I don't know where it's coming from. We're both emotionally intelligent, but I'm not going to just cut her off because she's having big feelings that feel like somebody who's a little emotionally unregulated right now or emotionally unintelligent. There's something off about this lady. I can't quite put my finger on it. I'll come back to you about that later, but there's something not right about that show. I've seen it before.
Maybe it's just me because I hear that and I'm like, that grace has limits. Maybe it's just me, but what I heard, and it's not what you said, but it's what I heard. So you know what? Y'all come for me, chat all y'all want to, is that you're asking for the ability to allow you to do whatever it is you want to do with me, and I should just give you grace until you figure it out.
Right.
No, no. Everybody has their limits, but that's when it comes down to the individual person understanding where that individual partner's coming from. If you know this partner has had an issue with this thing in the past, give them grace because maybe they're working through it. You're not going to be a perfect person entering into marriage. And if you, as you've said before, want people to stick it out, this is what it looks like. Understanding, yeah, maybe your partner has a blow up about something. When I first met my wife, she scheduled a photo shoot for me in a museum. I was extremely excited at first about the fact that she was going to surprise me. But feelings came up where I was extremely uncomfortable because there was no place for me to change my outfit. I actually wasn't comfortable with people staring at me posing in a museum, and I had a big reaction to it. And she gave me space and she gave me grace and she understood that, oops, okay, going forward, that's not something we can do. And I understood.
With you
Huh?
beforehand? She didn't communicate this photo shoot beforehand?
Not entirely. She's trying to surprise me. But I held myself accountable and was like, you know what? Going forward, I need to communicate more what I'm comfortable with and what I'm not comfortable with. And also, I need to let her lead a little bit and let her take me out of my comfort zone. This goes back to the ebb and flow of relationships. It's always not so cut and dry where, yes, this person is always able to regulate their emotions. There are going to be times where you're going to fail and it's going to look messy. But that's when the grace comes in. It doesn't mean you have to let this person walk all over you or throw temper tantrums all the time. You're going to have to be the person to decide when to give grace and when to just walk away.
I think you have to ask yourself, is that the norm for that person?
Right.
And are you able to resolve it afterwards?
And how did they resolve it? Or like, you know, take accountability, you know? Because if it's just the big reaction, it's just the big reaction, and there's no circling back around to it, and it's just like, have you cooled down yet? And then we move on and
Never
then
talk about it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna call it for tonight. We had a big discussion.
It's good talk. Good
It
talk.
went for about an hour and 45 about.
Sheesh. Wow.
Yeah, time flew. Once again, thanks everyone for coming on to the show. Really yeah, everyone. I'm glad that you all came. Even the people out there in the internet land who is watching live. If you guys catch it on the replay, thank you as well. Make sure you're hitting the subscribe button and the like button and the bell so you're notified when we go live. And when we start posting videos again too, you'll be notified for that as well. Make sure you guys subscribe to Finances with Uncle Nev. That's my dad's new YouTube channel. If you got your finances are kind of messed up, we're gonna get there, get you all straightened out. Once again, I am Sean. This is TDG. To my left, we have
Forrest. I just
to my left.
Are we doing introductions again?
Well, we're
Close out.
salutations.
All right, y'all. It's been real. I'm still Candace. I'm still 37. Still out here trying to survive.
All right, I'm King, the actual King Smith on most platforms. I also co-host the King and Me show with my lady Michelle. You can look up the King and Me on all platforms, and we should pop up. Thanks for tuning in.
I'm Brittany Renee, and I guess I'm still 37 also. And you can find me at CurlyLocks LLC on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
I'm Ashley. I'm 34, and don't find me.
Like that.
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining. We will see you guys next Saturday.